Hey, profs. Welcome on in. My name's Rob Lightfoot, proud two-time alum of Rick Edelman College of Communication, class of 2000-2001. This is Beyond the Brown and Gold.
I'm Jessica Kennedy. I'm the co-host here, also a two-time proud Rowan alum, class of 2008 from the Rick Edelman College of Communication and Creative Arts, and 2015 from the College of Education. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM presents Beyond the Brown and Gold, a show that highlights the lives and memories of Glassboro State and Rowan University alumni. Now, here are your hosts, Rob Lightfoot and Jessica Kennedy.
Jess, are you ready to get tech savvy today?
More than ever.
I thought that's what your face looked like. You're ready to get tech savvy.
Absolutely.
So today we've got a tech guy. We got Joe Wagner. I'd like to call him Wags if I could.
You'll hear more about that.
Yeah, we'll explain.
Rob's not allowed to call him Wags.
I'm not allowed, but he's an 04 alum with a BS in computer science.
And he has over 20 years professional experience in enterprise environments, currently works for Vanguard. We talk about all kinds of things. We don't talk finances. We talk computer science.
We talk, ready for this?
What?
This is what's going to get the listeners. We talk ChatGPT.
We do.
And
we talk AI. We
right?
talk Jiu-Jitsu.
Is that coding language? That's actually like a sport.
That's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually said that out
You
loud
just did
before.
it.
Wow. Look at me. I'm a good communicator. We did like Joe, and he was great, and he visited us on campus. He's not that far away, but we hope to get him back. He has some daughters that we're going to try to tour around this campus. You'll hear all about Joe and Joe's journey on Beyond the Brown and Gold. Joe, thank you so much. Do you go by Joe or Joseph?
Yeah, Joe's good.
You know your bio says Joseph.
Oh, so I apologize.
Do you like professionally if people call you Joseph? We have a lot of guests that are like, I go by Joe if you know
in
me.
the professional world.
Yeah, but only Joseph. For
Nah,
real.
I'm pretty informal. My team at work calls me Wags.
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 So one of the fellows on the team, his last name is Turbovich, and
That's a mouthful.
his like nickname, everyone calls him Turbo. So he's trying to assign other last name based nicknames.
That's nice.
as it makes sense.
Would you like us to call you Wags?
No. Joe's
Okay,
good.
Joe is
I
good.
kinda
was
wanna
trying
be
push
called
the
Turbo.
Push the limit there.
Yeah.
Push the limit there. You see this? He said
He's
no
like,
Wags.
no, we
He
don't
said
know
no.
each other.
Joe's
that well
good.
yet.
Yeah, Joe's good.
Maybe by the end of the
Yeah,
interview,
yeah, we don't know
we'll
each other
develop
yet.
our own cute nickname.
I
for
just accept Wags from Turbos because he's that dude who knows everything. So
Yeah.
you have to.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. How long have
go
you
with
been
it.
working with Turbos?
Turbo. So like about 3 years now. I
years.
moved to my new role over at Vanguard, like right in the start of the pandemic in 2020.
Oh,
So,
what a fun
yeah.
time to start a new
Oh
job.
yeah, it was a blast. It was good. I mean, I never actually like met my new team when we first started. Like I shifted over to that role, and then like the next week it was like, hey, everybody stay home. 2 weeks. Oh, okay, cool, man. We can do 2 weeks. And then,
That's what we
you know,
thought 2
we
weeks,
know.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it was like,
All right, what are
when
you
did
gonna
we
do?
even come back? I don't know.
Are
Are we back yet?
I don't even know if we're back yet.
I don't know either. I don't know
think
either.
we are.
Well, thank you for coming back
Yeah,
and
thanks for having
being
me.
in studio with us. So where did you come from today? We were just talking. You're not too far from here.
Sure, yeah. I live over in Mickleton, which is kind of the Malka Hill area, so about 10, 15 minutes away, not too far. And I grew up in South Jersey, so it's all pretty familiar territory.
Did you hear about Rowan through your South Jersey roots, or did you have any family or friends that came through?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I feel like Rowan's a pretty big presence around here. Even before it was Rowan, like when I was a kid, it was Glassboro. People are pretty aware of it. So I want to say like I kind of just always knew it was an option here. So yeah, when it came time for college, and I looked around, and the engineering program here was pretty good. It's computer science and engineering. So I was like, okay, well, it's close. I can commute. I ended up, I was a commuter student, and it helped me, kind of, get my feet under me without, going away and taking like $500,000 of debt.
No,
so it's good.
that's a smart way to look at
Yeah.
it, though, because oftentimes that's not a thought for some students. Because oftentimes the ones that live close are like, it's too close. Don't want to go. Mom and dad are close by.
Yeah.
Want to kind of go a little bit further away. Was that ever a consideration for you?
I mean, as a kid, of course, you're always like, hey, I'd like to go away and do whatever. But like, I didn't grow up with a whole lot of money, so it wasn't like I'm gonna fly away and
Yeah.
go live in Phoenix or something and do all that. So yeah, it was never really a serious consideration to go too far.
So let's go back to Little Joe. What did Little Joe want to do?
Now we
Right?
call him Little Joe. Is that going to be his
'cause
nickname?
I was going
Little
to call
Joe?
him Wags, but he's already established that we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's Little Joe's okay, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure when I narrowed down what exactly I wanted to do. So when I was going through high school and probably a little before, I actually wanted to be a cop, right? So I was thinking about being like a state trooper.
I could see you
And-
being a state trooper.
Yeah, I was interested in doing that, and so the whole reason I got into computer science was from that. So between my, guess it was junior and senior year of high school, the state police in New Jersey do like a trooper youth week. So you go up, you actually live at the academy for a week. You have like a trooper mentor. You do all the PT stuff and classes and all that jazz. And my trooper mentor told his guys that he had, when you go away to college, when you get ready to go to college here in a year, don't do criminal justice. Like everybody shows up here and they've got like criminal justice degrees, and we're like, we don't really need that. Bring something else to the table. So I was thinking about what else I was into. I was always into video games and stuff growing up. So I was like, computer science. Let me try that out and see how that goes. So so I ended up going into computer science as a major. Stuck with that all 4 years, and then ended up not going into the police but getting into IT. So
how did you even think about becoming a police officer? I feel like that's like, I have a little one and he dreams of being a firefighter. And I think eventually that's like that kid thing. But to have maintained that all through high school, did you have family members that were?
No, nobody that was, really into that work. I guess it stems from, you want to be helpful and kind of make an impact or whatever, right? Yeah, that's kind of how I ended up doing that. Actually, I was a firefighter while I was going to school here. I was a volunteer firefighter.
Do you have any local fire trucks we can explore?
No, not active anymore.
You can see it out front?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't drive it in today? Okay,
it's a little rough in traffic. But,
how long did you do that for?
So as soon as I was able to, once I turned 18, I signed up. It was, the Hopewell Stowe Creek Fire Department down there in South Jersey. And, did that like all 4 years that I went to college here, and a little afterwards with like trying to start a career afterwards. It kind of became too much to continue to do that. But did that all 4 years that I was here. And so it was still that continuation of like, wanting to help and kind of do a thing. And I don't know if maybe it kind of helped scratch that itch a little bit, which is why I wasn't as focused on the police. I mean, that's a whole long story too. And, you get busy with like a girlfriend and whatever. And then you're like, maybe I want to do something else. And yeah, so that's a long story.
Now let's go to college Joe. We did little Joe, now let's go to college Joe. Tell us about your time on campus here. Were you active in any different organizations on campus? Or no?
I can't remember the name. Was it the Computer Science Guild or whatever? I did that a little bit. I mean, it was because it was I was a commuter. And I was working like nearly full time. So I worked for GameStop in the Cumberland Mall. Shout out.
All right.
So I worked for them while I was coming here full time, and like nearly full time, like 35 hours a week, like whatever the maximum they could kind of book you for, and not call you a full time employee.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I did. So it was a lot of like drive up here, hit classes, drive down to work till like 10, go home, do whatever homework you kind of had to do, and then back and do it the next day, and occasionally mix in with like being at a fire till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So so it was pretty busy. So I wasn't like too active on campus. I had a couple of friends that came here though, so we'd meet up and hang out. I would try to hit the gym a lot and take advantage of the nice gym that was on campus. So
as a commuter student, did you have a parking strategy?
Just look for anything that was open. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they got like nice big lots now in the back of the campus over there. But those didn't exist when I was coming here.
Even parking garages.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Pretty fancy.
They didn't have that in my day. I had to look for like a Pegasus or something to fly over the open spot.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So
Yeah, that was the thing, right? Yeah, you have to kind of just drive around until you found a spot.
Because the pterodactyl.
Yeah, I think the stat was like when I was here, it was like there's like 4 cars to every 1 parking space that was available. So
it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
You had to end up fighting it out.
So I'm curious because your field has evolved so much every year.
Yeah.
And I imagine that the curriculum and the homework now for this particular computer science program looks much different than what you did as a communications student myself, who was here just playing with this stuff. What was some of your homework back then? Do you remember?
Well, it was a lot of coding, right?
Coding?
I
guess that didn't change, I guess, some of that.
Yeah, a lot of coding projects and just kind of coming up to speed on technology and everything. And it's funny because like when you're here doing it, you're like, I don't know how much this is helpful or whatever. But then, you get out into the world, and it's not the coding per se that was the valuable part. It was the developing the critical thinking and the ability to solve problems. Like my whole career path was really not traditional from what I thought. Like when I was here as a student, I was like, I don't know, what does a career in IT look like in computer science? Like you just go and you sit down and you code 8 hours a day, but like that was not at all my career experience. I got done here. You build those problem solving skills. You build that ability to kind of like figure out the new thing and adapt pretty quickly, and which is great because it set me up. Coming out of school, I worked as an implementation consultant, so I was like systems engineering style work, and hey, this thing is broken. We don't know why it broke, but you need to fix it because if not, it's a problem. So you go and you figure all that out, and you really use those skills that you built. And, some of the language stuff comes in handy. Like, okay, I can crack open code and read it and understand what's going on, but it wasn't necessarily I want to sit down and just code all day, which is good because that was not really my thing.
Yeah. I can't imagine sitting at a desk and doing the same thing all day.
So any professors on campus that really kind of helped you through your time?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Dr. Balaga was one of my, it was funny. He was a real, like a kind of a dual professor. He was actually one of my least favorite professors to have as a teacher for a class because he was very difficult. Like he was tough on us, right? But out of like having him like direct the class, he was by far my favorite professor to have. He's very personable, really easy to get along with, had great insights for things, all that kind of stuff. His wife at the time, Dr. Lobo, was great too. She was also pretty tough on you as a student coming in. But yeah, all those folks. I mean, the whole CS faculty was pretty good.
So what did you do in your spare time? Just go to the rec center besides GameStop?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so a lot of the times the way the class is lined up, it would be like you come, you have like a 9 o'clock lab or something where you were there till like 11, and then you had a big gap where like the next class wasn't until 2. So yeah, I'd go hit the gym. Sometimes I'd blow off the gym though and go hang out with some friends. But yeah,
That's fair. That's what everybody should do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about your current position and what a day in the life looks like.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have no concept of what it means to do what you do.
All right, very cool. I'll see if I can explain it. So
clearly, Rob doesn't even know how to fix his own
No,
phone.
I give my stuff to people like you.
Yeah, very cool. So I'm a cloud architect for Vanguard, the financial services company, and I mean my official title is like domain architect, cloud specialist, which doesn't mean a whole lot.
That's a long business card.
But right. But cloud architect kind of simplifies the title there. And basically, in my role, so we have various subdivisions that kind of break up because Vanguard's a very large company. Even just the IT part of Vanguard's a very large company. So we have different subdivisions that are responsible for different things. I am lucky enough to sit in the CTO or Chief Technology Office subdivision. And so my team is on the hook to help all of the other application teams around the company with their like modernization journey, which basically means like, kind of taking older technologies or older software, code bases or whatever, and making sure that they're kind of taking advantage of the more modern way to do things. And in enterprise IT these days, that means cloud. So, not a lot of companies these days are wasting money with buying, on-prem hardware, setting up networks, having staffing for all of that, paying all those bills to run their own data centers. Everyone's kind of pushing everything into the public cloud. So there's a couple big providers in the U.S., AWS, Google for Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure. So those are like the 3 big ones. So any company you can think of, they're probably running most of their infrastructure on one of those providers at this point.
Can we talk about the cloud?
Yeah, sure.
It's cloudy out.
It is hazy out. The cloud as like a concept, like you're sending your stuff to the cloud. I know I should know this because how long have I been using an Apple cloud?
I know, but we don't have to know what a cloud is.
Yeah, but like, what is it? Like, I don't explain.
We got the guy here for
I know. Tell me, like in layman's terms, like what does it mean, the cloud system?
I mean, it's basically just a way to kind of obfuscate all of the hardware side of computing away from, companies or individuals trying to use it. So you've got these cloud providers, and instead of, Vanguard, for instance, having to go and buy, thousands or hundreds of servers that sit in racks at a data center that we own, all of that stuff is done by a provider like AWS, who that's what they focus on, right? So they can do it a lot better, and they can do it at scale for a lot cheaper than a whole bunch of individual companies all doing that and trying to manage their own data centers and all that stuff. So it's just computing that is not managed by you. Like, you're not responsible for managing the hardware. Sometimes the software layer. There's a bunch of different types of cloud, which I don't know if you all want to get into. It's a little boring, but there's like
I'm very intrigued. So like in theory, is a cloud like you're saying Vanguard, but like when you work in a cloud-based system, Vanguard doesn't like have all these big data centers where they're. But do the cloud services have all those? Like, do they just have those things?
Yes, yeah. So your AWSs, your Microsoft Azures, they have the buildings out there that have all the racks and racks of servers and all the miles of cabling and people that staff to go ahead and make sure they take care of those things and make sure they keep it all running. And so that lets companies like Vanguard focus on things that we do best, which is, build good products for our investors and try to give them the best chance for investment success.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Look
so
at this.
are you? I know. Actually, I had an info systems class recently, and I loved it. Yeah. All about some of this stuff, like data mining.
I mean, I just got a message from Apple, like, your cloud is about to get full. You better upgrade to that $9.99. You have 30,000 pictures of your kids on your phone. And I'm like,
There you go.
is it really costing me extra money to house pictures of my children
Well,
somewhere?
like, so to take that as an example, right? So you've got, whatever X number of pictures on your phone, and then a whole bunch that have gotten offloaded to your phone. Let's say your phone only has like 10 gigs of storage or whatever it has on it.
It's old, so it probably has less.
So you need storage space to accommodate all of those pictures and videos and whatever else you want to keep. So instead of you buying a phone with a bigger drive in it or offloading it to like a hard drive that you keep at home and external, you're paying Apple to manage a hard drive somewhere out in the cloud that houses all of that data for you.
Like how we're saying cloud,
Yeah.
like in quotes.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel about the cloud. Like, cloud,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, well, cloud,
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever cloud.
So that's a great example right there, right? So you're paying a fee to not have to worry about the hardware end of things. And it also gives you better redundancy and ability to recover from failure. So if you're storing all that stuff on a hard drive at your house, if that hard drive goes
breaks
exactly, then you're kind of it's gone, right? Well, Apple's got just rows of probably thousands and thousands of hard drives or however they stripe their storage, and that's all it's all redundant. So if any one of those drives fails, there's a backup sitting somewhere else on on a redundant drive, and so you don't lose your stuff.
Could you see yourself doing anything else besides this?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah?
It's
What
funny.
would that be?
Own a gym or something, or I've got a few different interests that I kind of shy away from IT. So I used to fight. You were asking about the getting punched in the head.
Yes,
comment
that was
I made earlier.
airing that Joe said he's gotten punched in the head.
Well,
a couple
can we
times.
talk about that?
Yeah,
Is that-
sure.
Okay, I don't know that was a thing.
Part of like wanting to be a cop when I was kind of going through school and everything. Once I kind of got out of college and I had a little more free time because I wasn't running all over the place working or doing classes. I got into martial arts. I started out taking something called Aikido, which I wasn't really too. It was kind of impractical. If you know Steven Seagal stuff, it's kind of a little cheesy.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of
You
years.
grew a ponytail then? You had a ponytail and got good
I've
parts?
always had terrible hair. So I've been shaving my head since like high school.
Cool.
So I did that for a couple of years, and then I realized I was like, this is not very practical. This is not going to work in a real fight. So I
You were
went.
prepping for a real fight.
Yeah.
Prepping or have been in?
Well, no, I was a pretty meek, dork when I was growing up.
All right.
Hey,
But,
dorks fight too.
Yeah, well, I guess. So I did. So I did that for a couple of years, and then realized it wasn't really too effective. I looked for a place that did Muay Thai. So that's like Thai boxing or kickboxing. So I did that. Met some guys who did like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and did MMA fights. So kind of got pulled into that world. I did like about 7 fights when I was younger down in Atlantic City and Philadelphia and stuff.
How'd that go with the fam?
Well, part of it was pre-family, and then once I met my wife,
She was like, "Stop this nonsense."
well, yeah, I mean, she's certainly not
I
a
like
fan.
your nose where it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's actually made that exact comment. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, she was okay with it because it was a thing that I was doing prior to having met her, so it was kind of like part of the package, right? But yeah, so I did that for a little while. I think I had like 3 fights before we got together, and then I had like another 4 after. Nothing like major. It was always this amateur stuff. But I've still kept with it. You can't really fight. So I'm going to be 41 here pretty soon. And after like 32, they start making you get CAT scans before they let you fight. And so like at the level that I was at, it's not worth like diving into getting CAT scans and paying a bunch of money to just have tests to go get punched in the face for a couple $100. So
Isn't it kind of wild how like physical, like athletic type things
Yeah.
you age out at like you're like. I mean, like people like retire at like 35. I'm like, what? What do you do the rest of your life?
Yeah,
You got a long life to live.
It's
after
real
that.
taxing, man. It's funny the gulf between even like really good amateur athletes and like a real professional athlete in terms of like the skill level and the ability. So like to operate at that level, it's really demanding on your body. And I mean that's not coming from anyone who ever did professional stuff, but it's I know how much better professionals were than me. So it's like, it's pretty impressive. But yeah, that's why you have like such a kind of a short time span to do it.
And that's why you've been punched in the head so many times, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you get punched a lot sparring and getting ready for fights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. It was a good time. But the injuries catch up with you. I'm still active. I still do my jiu-jitsu. I'm a brown belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. hopefully a black belt at some point. I've been a brown belt for a few years now.
Cool.
But yeah, like, my knees are shot, my shoulders are messed up. I've had my nose broken like 3 times. So,
How do you
But
get
it is still where it's supposed to be, so that's possible.
Yeah. It's on your face.
It's all good, yeah.
It's on your
A
face,
little bump.
right where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So how do you get the next belt?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, evolving your skill and making sure that you
Hours
understand.
into the program, or?
Yes and no. I mean, so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a little different than what you think of. Like, you think about like karate, and like a lot of times, especially in the States, like the karates and like the more traditional martial arts, it's usually like you just go, and after a little while they give you another belt, and it's kind of whatever. But like Jiu-Jitsu is a little more practical based. You have to really kind of demonstrate that you know what you're doing. You can also kind of teach to the level that you're at, and help explain things. And I mean, there's a bit of a time element to it, but yeah, I think they say like your average like black belt time in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like 10 to 12 years, depending on how much you're going and how active you are. But
Now, I'm not into jiu-jitsu, but I do know that there's this move called the crane that I saw in a movie once.
very effective.
Okay,
Very
I just want to make
effective,
sure.
yeah.
Just want to make sure you're
Don't
aware
try
of
it on me.
that. Sorry. Yeah.
Also sweeping the leg, I think.
Sweep the leg. Yeah. Thanks, Johnny.
Let's go back to your day-to-day. What does your team look like? How many folks are with you? Are you virtual? Are you in person? Just for, students that might be exploring that degree, what could a day in the life look like for them?
Yeah, sure. So I guess to get some of the basic stuff there. So we're hybrid now at Vanguard. So we do like 2 days of the week, from home, and then 3 days in the office. That obviously can change depending on the team and the people and individual needs, but that's roughly kind of the outlook for at least the IT side of things. So that's a pretty good setup. I mean, I worked most of my career having to go in 5 days a week. So, I'm happy for a couple of days at home, right? Mm-hmm. My local team, about 7 or 8 of us, I guess, made up of like architects and, like project managers and stuff. And, then that, like, we're one team within our subdivision, and the subdivision is many, many teams, right? Day to day, like I mentioned before, fortunately is not like just going in and coding. Now you do have to go sometimes sit down, at least, as an architect, you go and you'll probably code like proof of concept work, right? So, hey, this team has a problem doing X. What can we go ahead and kind of do to help enable them to have more success or be a little more efficient or whatever? And then you'll sit down and you'll kind of, figure out what kind of services that you want to use from a given cloud provider to kind of string together a solution that'll work for them, maybe code it out a little bit before you actually would hand it off to the actual application team that would then be responsible for implementing like the real deal. So you still do a little bit of code. And even prior to like having this architect role, a lot of my work was systems engineering focused. So not go in and sit down and code a thing all the time, but like I mentioned before, hey, this thing is broken. We don't really know why it broke, but figure out why it broke and fix it. A lot of like problem solving, puzzle solving kind of aspect to it, which that's, one of the areas that kind of helped turn me on more to an IT career. It wasn't just go in and do the same thing every day, but it was, a mix of different things all the time. So it kind of keeps it, live for you. You're building your skill base. I mean, one thing that Vanguard's gotten really good at is making sure that we are all like keeping current with our skills and upskilling and making sure we're all, learning.
It's great.
And they encourage that.
Important.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they really encourage that. Like I'm not traditionally like a rah company guy. Like it's not, that's just not like in my makeup. But Vanguard's done a pretty good job of like kind of bringing that out in me, because they are willing to like show that, hey, we'll invest in our employees. We'll make sure that, you're keeping up to date on your skills, that you feel welcome, that you feel like, you're not overwhelmed all the time. So it's pretty good like that.
I think we need him back to talk to the students here, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so we can put this in the podcast description and get, some monster ratings here. Let's talk AI, right?
Sure.
Because it's a big thing. Let's talk
Rob's
about.
the one that got me using ChatGPT.
I don't know.
Because somebody's got me.
I
I'm
kind
just
of
passing
love
it.
it.
Don't you like
I
it?
do.
I don't know what it means, but whatever. I just
don't
know
know. Feels like
it just
cheating,
works.
but I
Just use it. Don't
Yeah, you have to adapt to the new technology.
Yeah.
You can't fight it.
So let's talk about it, Joe.
Sure.
Talk about it from your perspective of a tech person. Kind of describe what it is and how your space is kind of seeing this infused in sort of the work.
Yeah, sure. So I think I mentioned prior to starting recording, generative AI was not a thing that was really like a major focus a year ago for most kind of enterprise level companies, right? It was a thing that was kind of like on the hey, we're aware of this. This is a trend, and at some point, probably in the next 5 or so years, we'll have to look at it a little deeper and see what we can do. And then, over the last year, like it's really exploded and really kind of come to the forefront.
But like, what fast tracked it? So what made it explode?
Yeah, like, isn't that worrisome also that it was like, 5 to 10 years from now we have to think about this, and then it was like here?
Yeah,
Well,
toothpaste came out of the tube and nobody was like, all right, I don't know how to put that back in.
Well, it makes it tough to adapt for sure, especially like, in any kind of a large enterprise, usually, things are budgeted like way out, and, it's not like, one of the things you lose with being a larger company is you lose a little bit of that, nimbleness. I mean, we try to do our best to make sure that we keep that. That's one of the reasons we're like kind of, organized the way we are as a company, because it keeps things feeling small company-ish. But yeah, I mean, you definitely, it does make it hard to kind of keep up and adapt a little bit. But as far as like what made it explode, I'm not really sure. I wasn't really too, in tune with it. Like emerging technology is not necessarily like in my lane. But I know it got really popular when, I guess it was, like their Gen AI Model 3 came out from ChatGPT. So OpenAI put out like a new model that I guess was a lot more competent than in the past, and that really kind of brought it where people were like, oh hey, I can actually interact and do stuff with this. And I think it's only relatively recently that they made it like available to the public at large.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you sign up and you don't have to pay anything. It's like so accessible. And I'm like, where's the like?
Well, they're
there's got to be.
They're using you to train it, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's the trade-off. Yeah.
I don't
Guess
like
what?
that.
Yeah.
I am. I'm gonna give it some crap then.
There you go. Yeah. So that's the trade-off, right? That's why it's free. Is because interacting with people, interacting with the public, that helps train their models. So that's how they make it better and they make it smarter and able to tackle more, is they open up the training to a broader subset of people and inquiries and problems that it's asked to solve and those sorts of things.
And can it be industry specific? So like a Vanguard or say like a travel website, can they have their own sort of AI pieces that are learning from the different customers so they can tailor their products to?
Yeah, well, so I mean, AI has been around for a long time, right? I mean, generative AI is new on the block, but I mean,
Jess and I knew about that.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna like say how I didn't know about
Okay,
that.
sorry.
But what's the difference? What's generative? When you say that, what does that mean?
So the things that you're talking about, like ChatGPT, is what's referred to as generative AI, and that's basically this AI model can create content like wholly out of nothing. It can create new content, as opposed to traditional AI is where you train models on data sets, and so it can use those data sets to then give you information back or results on things or predictions based on trends, but it can't write you a poem like ChatGPT can,
right,
just out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Although
it's not nothing. I'm giving it some content.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You're doing that much work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the main difference between those things. So yeah, I mean, companies have been using AI for a long time now. Even if years ago, you hop on a site and you have a little chat bot that pops up and wants to kind of prompt you for things. Like that was AI driven. I mean, I worked on some chat bots back in my past roles, and they were much more rudimentary versions of like what a ChatGPT is. But same principle. It was still AI. It was still like training things on a data set so that it would, it could competently answer questions or give you, information that you requested.
But in addition to text now, there's also AI for design, right?
Yep.
Graphic design we were talking about off air. There's even now some radio stations that are using it because they're using some of the AI to be on-air hosts.
Oh, wow.
So to say,
Wait, like they're not real people?
Nope.
Wow.
There's just
It was hard enough to get a job in radio.
And now it's even harder.
That's how I ended up in the
But look at where we
office.
are. We're on the we're in podcast land and in radio land, right?
Well, that's
But,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
But so it's crossing different industries, which is kind of unique to kind of see how this is all gonna, but also how it's gonna change the skill sets that everybody has to come to market with, right? And how we all kind of like evolve and adapt, and to your point, professionally develop skills to stay relevant in different fields. You were in London town.
Yep.
Rob talks about London on like every other.
I know.
He's been to London, and it's like how I talk about Hamilton.
Yeah. I love it there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Yeah. So the first company that I got hired at coming out of Rowan was a startup company based out of London called Jacobs Rimal. They were a software company. We consulted for Comcast over here in the States. That was our big customer over here. And I had the privilege to kind of bounce around over there a little bit. I met my wife for the first time about a year or so after I started working with that company. I was over in London
Love it.
for work. It was London and then Amsterdam, then back to London. So I met her over there briefly. And then, a couple years later, she came this way for a meeting, and we kind of hit it off from there. And then, we were fortunate enough that I could go work over in the office over there and kind of spend time with her, and vice versa.
Did you want to leave London? I'm going to.
I mean, it's a big city, So I mean, I don't think I'm like, I love big cities, especially I love like cities at night. Like I love to see like the Philadelphia lights and everything, but it's not really like an environment I necessarily want to live in. I don't like people like right on top of me. Like I like a little bit of space. I mean, I grew up down in the middle of nowhere, so.
Rob, that being said, that doesn't fit you. It seemed to fit you at all.
It doesn't. And I'm actually getting anxious as he's talking about it. But no, I just loved the downtown area. Like we stayed, so when we went there for London, we stayed in Trafalgar Square, like right near there. So it was very, like a really cool spot to kind of move around.
Yeah.
But there was enough space. Like we were at a distance from folks being in that small spot.
Yeah.
The only thing that did give me a little bit of anxious time was when we first stepped on the tube.
Oh, jeez.
During rush hour.
Yeah, man.
Like in the morning, they are no joke. They're on that tube and they are really packed in there like sardines. Like you can't escape.
Yeah.
And Derek and I had our luggage on there, so we obviously stood out. Like
you're like, oh boy, these guys are travelers.
It can be hot down there too, because it's not like there's airflow. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not like air conditioning or anything, so it can be hot and a little smelly. Depending on how many people are crammed in.
Did you love London when you were over there?
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, the history is awesome. I mean, the fact that you're walking around and some of the buildings are 1,000 years old or whatever is so cool. Yeah, I enjoy history. So that's cool. Yeah, we're actually going back in August. I'm with you. We're taking the kids.
He didn't invite you.
Oh, come on, Wags, let's go.
Sorry, man. I'll see if
still not there yet.
I'll see if I can get the extra seat.
Yeah.
But we're heading back for vacation, so we're gonna show the kids like where the office was and like the pub that we hung out with and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it'll be good, and also do all the touristy stuff too.
Tell us about your kids. I always love knowing about everybody's kids.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I've got 2 daughters, 14 and 11. Both are turning into their own little people. 14-year-old is kind of firmly a teenager, so all the stuff that comes with that, and
she'll come back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hope so. That's what I hear. I hope so. But and the 11-year-old's my little buddy. Like she actually goes down. She does jiu-jitsu. There's a kids class before I do adult stuff. So
any potential profs? Maybe you can push them a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll have to see what they're interested in. My older girl at the moment has it in her head that she wants to do law. So I'm not entirely sure where she. Where she got that, and B, what her long-term plans are. And my little one, I don't think she's quite thought that far ahead yet.
Yeah.
But for sure, I mean, it's high on my list. I mean, it's 10 minutes away. That they don't have to move away.
State school.
Keep a good eye on them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but
be a commuter student like Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes away. You can't beat that. Come on.
Well, if you ever want them to tour here, we can set you up and just this way it's maybe not like Dad touring them around.
Yeah, but do you ever do the downtown? Because the downtown has a lot, like the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, well, we hit there for dinner a lot. Like my wife really likes La Scala, so we'll pop in there and we'll grab dinner from there, or like the chickies and pizzas that are there, and so yeah.
Well, Joe, we thank you for coming in today. We're so great. Thank you for explaining things like the cloud to us.
Yeah, we talked AI, so
yeah, I know. I feel
better
smarter
about that though.
Yeah, I do too, and I feel smarter.
Yeah,
and
cool.
It's we have a lot of great guests, but not every time do I take away. Yes, now I understand something that's been plaguing me for years. So we appreciate you coming in today.
Nice. Yeah, anytime you want me back, I'm right down the road.
The good news after this is we spent a lot of time talking about the cloud. My apologies. But
we all have to get better at it.
Well, I want to understand when we're interviewing folks, I really want to understand what they're talking about. I just don't want it to be surface. I want to say, I don't get what you're saying. Because chances are, if I don't get it, I want other people to know too.
The ironic part about this is we're recording this whole thing not in the cloud.
Oh,
we are nowhere near the cloud.
Okay, well, Derek, we need to update some technology
I know,
here.
we'll fix that. But, thanks to Joe, now we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we should actually hire him to help us.
Thanks to Joe, I'm going to go home now and update my MySpace account, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's time.
Well,
right?
we've connected with Joe.
I'll put a sappy song on and some pictures. It'll be like old times.
What song did you used to have?
I never had a MySpace account.
You didn't?
No.
Wait, did that skip your time?
No, that was my time, and I just never chose to go there. I've never been on like that social side of things.
Is that why you love LinkedIn so much? Because now you're like, I missed out on MySpace. I have to make up for it.
I can professionally release myself to the world.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so very professional side, but we get to know nothing personal about Rob. We're going to do an interview with Rob one day.
We should do an interview with Rob and Jess. Joe is great. Really glad we had him in here, and I think we're going to see Joe a couple more times because we have to get him back to talk to students, I think.
Yeah, I think that it would be very valuable for students to understand the opportunities that there are, and also some clarity about AI and how it may or really may not be impacting their current and future work opportunities.
Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed this episode of Beyond the Brown and Gold. We'll check you out next time.
You've been listening to Beyond the Brown and Gold on Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms by searching for Beyond the Brown and Gold or Rowan Radio On Demand.